Hi, can you help us unravel the mystery behind this fascinating object we recently dug up? Who did it belong to? A devout religious figure, an aristocrat, or maybe a Freemason? Let's dive in and explore the clues together. Welcome to Small Things Big, where we uncover big stories hidden in small, mysterious objects my son and I dug up. We do the digging and we hope you can help us identifying. Our goal is to figure out what these items are, what they were used for, and who might have owned them. In today's episode, the mystery lies in the underside of this object and in the identity of its original owner. So let's get into it. The artifact was found near Hengelo, a small village in the eastern Netherlands with around 6,500 inhabitants. It's part of the municipality of Bronkhorst and has a rich history. For centuries, Hengelo was famous for its horse markets, and later it became a hub for motorsports. It was the birthplace of the original Quick sporting shoe brand, founded in 1905. You can even spot them on the Dutch national football team in this 1947 photo, along with the shoes wearing those iconic laced shirts. Hengelo's origins go way back, first mentioned in historical records in 963 Common Era. Over time, the area became home to monumental buildings from the 14th century onward, especially during the 17th and 18th centuries. Farms, country estates, castles, churches, you name it. When we first uncovered the object, we thought it might be a figurine or a key fob. Turns out, the second guess wasn't far off. Here it is after cleaning. It's about 2.5 centimeters tall, featuring a flat base and a wedge-shaped mount that fits nicely between your fingers. Perfect for gripping. But the real mystery is in its base. It's oval and engraved with fascinating symbols. We'll zoom into that later in the video, so stick around. It's worth it. It didn't take us too long to figure out what it is. This is a fob seal, also known as a signet or intaglio seal from the Latin word intaglio, meaning engraved. Fob seals are handheld seal matrices with mounts designed to be worn on a chain, hence the eyelet at the top. Think of it like a portable signet ring, worn on a belt or waistcoat chain instead. These seals came in all shapes and materials. The example shows some older ones on top and modern ones below. Some featured portraits, initials, coats of arms, you name it. More luxurious ones were even set with gemstones. Fob seals were used to authenticate documents or seal letters. Just like a wax stamp, molten wax would be applied to a paper and the seal would be pressed into it, leaving behind a personal imprint. It's kind of like a modern-day security tag or digital signature. In the image you can see the Swiss Federal Charter of 1291, which was authenticated with seals by the main Swiss federal communities. Fob seals weren't just functional, they were also stylish. Take this painting of George Washington before the Battle of Trenton, for example, shown wearing a similar adornment. Seals like this conveyed both authority and elegance. Our seal might not have belonged to a president, but its owner was intriguing nonetheless. And you can help us discover who it was later in the video. Just remember, fob seals are relatively rare ground finds. That is because it was common practice to destroy the seal after their owner's death to prevent misuse. So finding one like this is definitely special. Now let's take a closer look at what it's made of. High status seals were often crafted from silver or gold. Ours, it shows signs of a copper alloy, judging by the green oxidation on the matrix. The mount has a greyish-whitish tone, suggesting a lead-based alloy. It may have been coated with precious metals to enhance its appearance. Notice the silvery seam where the two parts meet? That indicates they were soldered together, possibly using a tin lead alloy or maybe even brazed for extra strength. I used to think soldering and brazing were modern inventions, but these techniques go way back to Mesopotamia and ancient Egypt. The reason these were made in two parts? Likely because the mount was mass-produced, while the seal matrix was custom-made for an individual. Now that we know what it is and what it was used for, let's try to date it. Professional archaeologists can choose from a range of methods to scientifically date artifacts. Relative dating methods consider how old artifacts and sites are in comparison to other artifacts and sites. Absolute dating methods are more accurate and measure the physical properties of an object and use these measurements to calculate its age. This often involves the use of special equipment, and since we're amateurs, we're using 4 simple but effective dating methods: typology, habitation history, comparative dating, and seriation. Typology is the classification of artifacts based on types or categories. Seals have been around since the 6th millennium before Common Era. However, fob seals specifically, worn on a chain or rope, came into fashion in the High Middle Ages around 1200 Common Era. They were popular until the mid-19th century, when handwritten signatures and pocket watches took over. This gives us an initial time window of 1200 to 1850. As a second dating method, we investigated the habitation history of the artifact site. The object was found near an estate that was first mentioned in 1313. A resident named Jonker van Leeuw was mentioned in 1650. There is very little information available about the housing he lived in, but it is expected that the building was a fortified farmhouse, which was the equivalent of the bastle houses you find on the Scottish border, and may have looked like this one. Fortified farms often were the property of noblemen. The estate's current structure was built in 1832 by Baron van Ekeren van Enkhuizen. To conclude, this history lets us tighten the time frame to 1300 to 1850. For the third dating method, we looked at other objects we found at the same site that can be dated accurately. Coins, for example, are our most enduring historical documents and can help dating a site or artifacts. Coins tend to have a year stamped in it, and even if that is not visible, coins can often still be dated based on their design, which is generally well documented. We found several coins nearby, including 2 17th century doits, a small denomination coin used during the Dutch Golden Age. The coins are in very rough state as a result of spending centuries in the soil of very humid farmland. Doits were from the guilder or florin currency. The guilder was the currency in the Netherlands from the year 1434 until 2002, when it was replaced by the euro. However, doits were only used in the 17th and 18th century, before the introduction of the decimal system that brought with it the cent. A doit would buy you an apple or an egg in the 17th century. 1 guilder equaled 160 doits, so could roughly buy you 5 months worth of apples. Doits were struck by each of the 7 provinces of the then still Republic of the United Netherlands. The coin on the left was struck in Frisia, today's province of Friesland, between 1600 and 1630. The one on the right is from Groningen at Ommelanden and can be dated between 1673 and 1677. The dates are hardly visible, but based on the designs both on the obverse and the reverse of the coins, we got a definitive identification and dating. This map shows the 7 provinces in the 17th century. See how the North Sea was called the Germanic Sea and the Netherlands was called Belgica Federata? The word Belgica is Latin for Low Countries. South of it lay Belgica Regia, the Royal Low Countries, or Royal Southern Netherlands. Today's Belgium and the Netherlands therefore actually share the same name of the Low Countries. The arrows indicate the provinces of Frisia and Groningen at Ommelanden where our coins were struck. The circle indicates the location of the site where we found them. By the way, fun fact, look at how the Netherlands back then had a proper sea, the Zuiderzee, smack in the middle. It existed until 1932, when it was closed off by a dam and causeway, and has since then largely been reclaimed, and today forms the 12th province of Flevoland. Anyway, sorry for that sidestep, so let's look at the other coins we found. They include a beat up 1892 silver 10 cent and a 1906 lion cent and a 1941 zinc World War II 1 cent coin. The World War II coin was made of zinc, since during war times there had been a coin shortage due to people saving up their silver coins that were expected to keep their value in the high inflation economy. The coin shortage was resolved by using cheaper metals such as zinc. The occupying Nazis also liked the fact that these new coins did not feature the reigning queen on the obverse, which they hoped would help fade people's memories of the monarchy. While not exact, finds like these help us establish a likely terminus post quem, the term in archaeology indicating the earliest possible time the seal was produced, no earlier than 1600. So far, we're down to a window of 1600 to 1850. By the way, if you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. It will help the video reach more like-minded people. Since this is our first video, we're also keen to know how you think we can improve, so please let us know in the comments which parts you like most. Now back to solving today's case. The fourth and final dating method we'll apply is to look at the design of the object and see if we can find any documented and dated seal fobs with a similar design. Here you see some examples of earlier and later fob seals. Earlier versions are more crude and look a bit wonky compared to the later, more refined versions. The designs of fob seal mounds are typical for specific time periods. And lo and behold, our search resulted in this documented seal fob, found by a fellow archaeology enthusiast on the island of Texel. It has a design that is strikingly similar both in terms of the step matrix base as well as the wedge-shaped mound. He managed to date it to 1650 to 1675 by comparing with two coin finds at the site, as well as by tracing the initials back to the likely owner, who was the sheriff on the island between 1653 and 1672. Using this method, we can reasonably date our seal to around 1650 to 1700. So we've now determined what the object is, how it was used, what it's made of, and when it was likely made. But here comes the best part. What does the engraving on the base mean? Who was the mysterious owner? Were they noble, clergy, Freemason maybe? Even AI couldn't figure it out, so this is where you come in. We'd love your help in cracking this case. In part 2, we'll take a detailed look at the symbols and inscriptions. There's a lot to unpack. So click the link in the description or on screen to continue the journey. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and let us know what you think in the comments. We're just getting started and your feedback helps shape what comes next. Hope to see you in part 2.